Bonjour tout le monde, this is Mademoiselle Swan back with part 2 of our Passé Compsé unit, in which we will be learning how to conjugate verbs using the verb être. So far, we have used only the Passé Compsé of verbs that are conjugated with the auxiliary verb, that helpful verb, avoir. But there are certain types of verbs that require the auxiliary verb, that helpful verb, être instead. In case you've forgotten the conjugations for the verb être, please stop the video now and record them into your worksheets. Je suis, tu es, il est, elle est, nous sommes, vous êtes, ils sont, elles sont. To conjugate verbs using être, we're going to use the same formula that we used for the regular verbs, but instead of the subject avoir participe passé, we're going to do subject être participe passé. Just as a reminder, the verbs that end with er, like danser and jouer, end with an e accent aigu. Verbs ending in ir change to an I, and verbs ending with re, like descendre or attendre, you take off the re and add a u. There are two ways to remember the verbs that use être in the Passé Compsé. One of them is Dr. Mrs. Vandertramp, which is a mnemonic device that allows you to code information to pull up later. You can use each letter to remember a verb that belongs to être. Another way to remember is mastery learning technique, which I'll post a separate video for. Of course, as all conjugations, there are some verbs in French that don't follow regular rules. Verbs marked with a star on the verbs sheet have irregular participe passé, meaning they don't follow the rules that we're used to. For example, venir, devenir, revenir, all verbs that end in ir end with a u. Subject agreements are probably the hardest part of Passé Compsé using être. And when we use the verb être, we have to make the verb agree with the subject. And we do the same thing when we use adjectives. Masculine singular is left alone. Masculine plural gets an S. Feminine singular an E. And feminine plural an ES. Under the subject agreement title, there is an example using the verb aller. I want to take this moment to remind you that even though there are letters in brackets, they shouldn't be in brackets when you're writing a sentence. It all depends on who the subject of your sentence is. Pratiquons, we practice. Let's do the practice questions under the example together. Our first question uses the subject je and the verb rester. So the first thing with my formula that I'm going to do is write down the subject je. The next thing I'm going to do is conjugate être, so I should have je suis. Then I'm going to finish rester, take off the er, and add an e with an accent aigu. Now, because I'm Mademoiselle Swan, I identify as feminine singular, so I'm going to add an extra e on the end of rester to match. Depending on who you are, you may or may not add an e onto the end of your verb. Our next question uses the subject tu and the verb descendre. I'm going to use the subject tu, add être, which is es, and for descendre, I'm going to take away the re and add the u. Now my next question is, do I add an e to the end of it for tu? And that depends who you're talking about. Am I talking to Marie, tu es descendu les escaliers? Or am I talking to Pierre, tu es descendu les escaliers? Our next question is the subject il with the verb tomber. So I'm going to start with il, have my être, which is est, il est, tomber, take off the er, add e with an accent aigu. Because it's il and il means he, I know that it's masculine singular and I don't add anything. Our next question is elle with the verb rester. So I'm going to start with my subject, which is elle, add être, which is est, and then rester, I'll take off the er and add e with an accent aigu. Because the subject is elle, which is she, I know that it's feminine singular, and so I do add an e onto the end of rester. Our next question is nous with the verb rentrer. So I'm going to start with my subject, which is nous, add être conjugated, which is sommes, and then our participe passé, which is rentrer, and I'm going to take off the er and add an e with an accent aigu. Now, because I'm me, Mademoiselle Swan, if I'm hanging out with all girls, I'm going to add an e, but if it's mixed, I'll keep just the s. Our next question uses vous and the verb partir. Vous can be singular in some contexts, but for our usage, we're going to keep it as plural. So So I'm gonna add my subject, which is vous, add être, which is et, and then I'm gonna take partir, take off the IR, and add an I. Our next question uses the subject il. Notice I don't say the S because there is not a vowel after it yet. Then I'm gonna add the verb être, which is sont, ils sont. Retourner, I'm going to take off the ER and add an E with an accent. And then because this is a group of boys or a mix of girls and boys, we're going to add just an S. And finally, our last question is the subject else, and it's using the verb partir. So I'm going to take elle, add être, which is sont, partir. I'm going to take off the IR to add just an I, elles sont parties. And then because I know it's a group of girls, I'm going to add an E and an S for feminine plural. I hope this video helps you in completing the rest of the worksheets in the package. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I also want to direct you to the very last page of the PDF, which is a Passé Compsé cheat sheet. Please make yourself familiar with this sheet as it will help you in coming weeks. You can see that the être verbs are all located on the right.